Looks like we are live and we are streaming and greetings programs. How's everybody doing tonight? I am Gilbert, the angry IT nerd. I am here with my co-host George, Techno George. We are the you're low, lonely, and we are your oh, what is the word? We are your faithful help desk pioneers. So say hello to the people, George.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the Helpdesk on GCPR, Ghost Cloud Productions Radio. I wanted to just ask how you were doing, tonight, Gilbert. And sorry, angry IT nerd.
I'm doing what? Oh, let me just vent something real quick
Oh,
on
go
something
ahead.
that just kind of grinds my gears. All right, it's when you're making an app, all right, and everything's going just right with the code so far, and it's compiling and everything's building right, and then at the last possible minute, you get a whole list of just errors everywhere. So then, you spend the time having to go through each line and then realizes that, what in the hell am I doing? And none of it makes any sense. So then you
Is
have to
it
go back and check through each and everything that you have done, step by step, checking the code, making sure that it's that Android Studios, it recognizes it and it sees it,
right?
and then, boom, again, still nothing, an error. And then when I get the error fixed, and what I'm describing right now is my frustrations and everything of going and building the GCPR app, in which everything else is great. It the app connects. It sees where it's hosting, has the admin panel. Everything is going good, and then when it comes to actually the time to run it and test it, making a testing environment, it is a pain in the butt. And then after all the errors in now mind you, I fixed all the errors. All the errors are done, and so it's built, it's compiled, it's ready to run, but there's no virtual environment. And so now I realize I want to punch something and I want to kick somebody. Just any, I don't know who or what. I just need to do something to vent my frustration. But needless to say, there's also a built-in feature within Android Studios in which you can connect to a phone and use a phone as a testing environment. So I have the bright idea of knocking two birds out with one stone, and that with my broken phone, with the broken screen, I got a replacement screen on order. It should be coming in sometime today. So I'm going to replace that screen and try and connect it to Android Studio using that phone. If it doesn't work, then
That's how the other phone broke. Okay. There was a syntax error,
right.
and you probably said, how aerodynamic is this phone? Let's find out. That's what happens with Jeff. Like with Jeff Kennedy when he has a computer problem. When we used to do like late night testing with stuff, he's like, "I'm gonna throw this computer against it." No, you don't want to throw the computer against the wall because but it's not working, and yeah, just
So,
calm
just
down, breathe,
count to
take
10.
a breath. He goes, "We've been doing this for 6 hours and it's still not working." Okay,
I know. I've been here
because it
too.
means more work for me if you throw it against the wall.
Right? Because I mean, now I have to piece everything together. I have to put it together if it can be put back together. But yeah, it is. It has been, just one thing after another when it's coming to this app, and then ironically enough, it's somewhat easier than it used to be years ago when I tried, because it's not the first attempt I've done at trying to make an app.
Hmm.
Tried, but just for whatever reason, it would never compile, would never run right. Just didn't know.
Is there a like a debug command, or maybe there's a debug in it? Like a I mean you can there because there's a in well when I was going to college we had mainframe and
Mm-hmm.
everything was punch cards. So you would actually do your program in punch cards, and the punch cards had to be compiled in a certain order. If you put them in the tray and you dropped the tray and all your cards went all over the floor,
Oh man.
you wouldn't be able to put them into the reader and compile them. There was a debug command, and the debug command would allow you to see which order the cards had to go into. Then you'd put them all into order, and
Mm-hmm.
you had a whole stack of them. They were like, they were like, you know, they were, with it, like paper thin,
Okay.
like this, but they were very, you know, they were very rigid, and you would put those cards in order. You'd put them into the reader, and the reader would read them all, but you'd have to actually type them. You'd actually have to type out the commands. So you type out each line. So each line would
Yeah.
be a card. But now it's just, it's all line, based, like in
Mm-hmm.
Linux or something like. I don't know what the app is actually compiled in. What language is it?
It uses Java. Well, it uses a mix of Java, JavaScript, and XML.
Oh, next. Okay. So,
Yeah. So all the
but yeah,
languages. I mean,
but
I
but like one little syntax error, like a space, you put a space, or
yeah,
or you put
like an extra
like
space or a comma when it's supposed to be a semicolon,
right,
or a single quote when it should be a double quote. You know,
right.
and it's just like little syntax things like that that you don't think that it should be that big of a deal, but then it turns out that it means all the world.
One one thing I've seen on ChatGPT, because I've been using ChatGPT for a while to actually create all the things for our shows, like all the show outlines, all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It can actually write code for you if you want it to. So if you're stuck on something, it can actually go in and write code for you. So it'll write out maybe, well,
Yeah,
it depends on
it'll.
what it is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's a simple line of code, then yeah, it has no problem with doing that. Yeah, but it's something a
All right.
little bit more kind of complex, then it'll probably, send send links to tutorials on samples on how to do it, or maybe write out a sample itself. But yeah.
Right. Right. And then
Mm-hmm.
and then you just have to plug in those values, depending on whatever app you're actually doing. So,
Yeah. And so I'm going to try it. I'm going to try replacing the screen, in which I'm 99.9% confident sure I can do, you know. And we're going to use that as a testing environment for this app, in which again, the way that it's connecting online, it's connecting with with the Shoutcast server, and then it
Mm-hmm.
looks like they're talking back and forth, and when the app it communicates out to the admin panel, on the where it's hosted at on the site,
Right.
and then it communicates with what's called Firebrand. Yeah, Firebrand, which is um, like the app development for Google. So
Mm-hmm.
so it lets you know that this is for Android, and it's going to be um, kind of using the uh, Google connection, to upload into Google Play and the
Okay.
whole nine. It's
It will
man, it's
it will authenticate to
right.
Google Play for Android and then also for
Yeah,
iOS, I would assume.
yeah. Basic forms like a three-way connection, in which it, again, just kind of talks back and forth between all of them. So the
Right.
only way to know for sure where that I do know that the app is running, and where I can tweak it and make changes from it, is creating this testing environment.
Right.
Problem is, I've always had trouble with virtual testing environments. Uh,
They run good in the virtual world, but in the real
right,
world they
but in the
don't.
real
Yeah,
world,
I know. Yeah. In the virtual world everything works.
right, and I'll get it to work like once, and then that's it. But thankfully that Android Studio now has kind of corrected that whole thing, because it used to be, and that's kind of got me so frustrated with it, and I stopped for a long while, was going to run it, and being able to do only um, the virtual device, open the
Mhm.
virtual device only once.
Right.
But no actual way to kind of see how it would look on a phone, how would we interact with touchscreen, phone calls, any kind of notification that will pop in or anything like that. So the good thing is that since there are many upgrades in Android Studio, it has found a way to make it easier and harder at the same time. Easier in the sense that that it will run because of how Android Studio and their syntax is that unless you correct these errors, it won't build and it won't run. Whereas previous versions, it'll kick back the syntax errors, but then it'll still build and run, so you could see how badly it messes up in real time. But thankfully, it fixed it to where it won't compile until the code looks right and it runs right, and uh, it won't actually make it into a file for an app to use on your phone
Right.
until it's actually you're actually able to test it.
What I was going to try to talk about tonight was the Delta Airlines that Delta it was Delta Airlines was it IT fiasco that happened for Delta Airlines this past week.
Oh
I think
yeah,
it's still on. I think it's still going on. So
yeah.
um,
I saw a headline about it. I didn't read the actual story into it
the
yet.
I guess the company that does their IT is called CrowdStrike,
Yeah,
and
and they had a
I
big
think yeah they I was reading the article. All the Windows machines went down, but if you were using a Mac, everything would have been fine. Like
right.
they've had Mac,
So I think
but
here
the
we go. I'm pulling up an article here from PC Mag, and
Right.
it's talking about the CrowdStrike update. Here, this is it from Friday's CrowdStrike update. Nightmare took down 8.5 million Windows-based machines globally. Damn. Prompting prompting some to question why Microsoft allows third-party kernel drivers while Apple does not. Good question, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
if it affected like that, then yeah. That's it. As Microsoft's chief communications officer, Frank uh, Frank X Shaw noted on X, a 2009 agreement between the European Commission and Microsoft required Redmond to give security software the same level of access to Windows as Microsoft itself. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, it
What could
was
go wrong with
interesting
that?
that um, it was interesting to see the blue screen of death on all of the
Oh man.
monitors at the airport, and I was like, "Wow,
Oh, that.
that's really bad."
Oh, that sucks. Oh, because the ones I feel really bad for. I feel really bad for the people that had to go into work that day,
Yeah.
and they log in like normal, and you know, just go through the normal everyday thing, and then, oh, and the calls to IT were just non-stop. Oh my god, that'd be the worst day ever. That'd be
Well,
one
I
of the
mean, it
worst
would have
days
been
ever.
bad. It would have been really bad if they had IP phones, when
Oh,
somebody tried to get to them and
oh, that
it didn't
yeah.
really work.
Oh, definitely agreed. Agreed. Oh, so anybody that is just coming in, you are here watching and listening to the Help Desk. We are here to answer your questions, any IT related or any tech questions you have, or you just want to talk to us. Um, we are here. Email us at gcprhelpdesk@gmail.com. Again, that is gcprhelpdesk@gmail.com.
Get my
So,
get the GCPR page here. Okay. Oh, I didn't see that one. We made a real hologram desk like Tony Stark. Nice. Iron Man desk. Uh-oh.
yeah, man, that's pretty cool. It looks pretty cool, man, because essentially this hacksmith, they always do everything they can, to make these science fiction into science reality.
Right.
And so I saw that, I was like, oh, I need that in my life. I don't know what I'll do with it, but I need it in my life. Have no clue at all. I'll just have it there, just to, just to show stuff off, just cause I can.
Was it like was it a cheat? It's like a cheat holographic. It's not. Well, it's not a true
No,
hologram.
no, no. It's not
It's
like
a
not like the interactive kind of holographic in the Iron Man movies. It's just one that kind of displays a holographic 3D holographic image. No, basically what it looks like, the kind of the same like little things that they sell on Amazon, like little alarm clocks and stuff like that. That'll
the spinning. Yeah, the
right,
spinning one.
right,
Right.
right, right. Yeah, and essentially
Right.
it's just like a big table made, that shows just stuff like that. So it's just a really big
Okay.
version of that small little thing.
Yeah. Was looking at there 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 were a couple of experiments with that. One of them was actually using the spinning display, but using an X and a Y axis. So you would have an X axis spinning, you'd have a Y axis spinning, and you would put that together to basically create a three-dimensional image, but it would have to go in such a way that the X and Y didn't actually hit each other, you know.
Right. Right.
And yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, Delta. No,
Oh
you know what Delta
man.
was it? Was it? You know what Delta stands for? Don't ever leave the airport. So, so but anyway, sorry,
Oh
Delta.
yeah. So yeah. So I know good times. Good times with that.
Yeah, that I mean that's like that's like every IT help desk nightmare. It's like
Oh, that is a
what's going
nightmare
on?
come to
Like
life.
wow.
Absolutely. As is it for anybody listening that does not know kind of the magnitude of what we were talking about when in IT. Think of whatever job that you work at, whatever you do, whatever the case may be. Think of the worst day you've ever had, the busiest, worst day you've ever had. Everything's gone wrong, work just keeps piling up, and none of it. Boss is breathing down your neck, micromanaging everything, all of that. And imagine it all happening every 5 minutes. Just more. Just keeps happening and piling on and piling on. Yeah. It's to the point
Uh,
where you would have to commit yourself. You would need therapy after that day. That's how bad it
I had an incident like that. I was working for um, um, a place. I can't think of the name of it, but anyway, it was a pharmaceutical company,
is. Okay.
and I was in the computer room, and they had the encryption appliance, from McAfee. They had they had two encryption appliances. They were known as servers, but they weren't really servers. It was called an appliance. It kind of looked like a little cable box, and it was in a rack. So there were two of them, and it would encrypt all the traffic coming in um, to the server room for that particular site. And anybody who was remote, um, who was either at home, could sign in to the site. The traffic would, decrypt on their laptop. But it was
Okay.
also it it was part of an antivirus type of thing. So in the computer room, and one of the appliances gave a warning light, like it was going to go down.
Okay.
Okay, so they had called uh, the server basically called the technician to come out and replace a fan. There was a fan error in one of the devices. Fan was not, spinning. So I was like, okay. So the company called, and I took the call, at my desk, of course, and they were like, well, we could do this in the morning, or we could do this in the evening. I was like, well, I'm not here in the evening. I work from, like from 7 to 3. And they said, well, we can come in early in the morning. Well, they wouldn't let the guy come in, early in the morning.
Uh
They
huh.
said they could do it. And he was like, but I'm gone at 3, and you don't want me to work past because, I was a contractor.
Right.
They said, so we can come at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, 9 o'clock, that's when everybody gets in. We need to do this, off
Like,
hours.
right.
So there's no impact to anybody, who's on. And, you know, I think the start of the business day was 9 o'clock, of course. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, I said to the powers that be, look, the guy comes in, you have two encryption servers. One takes over while the other one
Mm,
gets serviced,
right.
and we can route all that traffic through that encryption server. Uh, you know, Now I was not in charge. All right, mind you, I was not in charge of any of the hardware in the computer room. I was only there to do backups. That was my job. Go in the computer room, do a backup, every month, and that was it. I was
Right.
basically charged with asset management, making sure that everybody had the same software on their computers, and to write up certain things because our help desk was in China at the time. So I would write um, scripts and then send them out to China and say, okay, well, this person needs this person needs that. We did not have control of Active Directory. Only they did in China. So they
Oh,
could, do, add-ons and all this other stuff.
right.
So I was just coordination. I would just, like coordinate all this stuff. So I went in the computer room. They said, well, you're the only one here. Everybody else is on vacation. I'm like, okay, great. I'm in the computer room. And the guy comes. I let him in, like meet him at the desk. I escort him upstairs. We go to the computer room,
Right.
go into like the server room. He takes down the appliance, shuts it off, and the other one is up and running. I'm like, I see lights. I see all this other, everything's fine. Okay. The business manager comes in and she's screaming at me, absolutely screaming. I'm like going, I'm like going, what is going on? She goes, we are down across the board. Do you know all the money we're losing and blah blah blah? And this is all your fault. I'm like, okay, it's all my fault. I was like,
Wow.
look, you have two encryption servers. One's up and I said, you see the lights here? She goes, well, there must be something wrong. And I was like, where are your network guys? Your network guys are on vacation. The head of the network, department on vacation.
Right.
And I'm like, so, well, you have to call somebody. She's screaming at me like at the top of her lungs. And I'm like, I don't usually do this. I don't come in here. I mean, I know a little bit, but I don't.
This is
You
not
know,
this is
it's
not
not my
my
job. It's
right.
really, really not my job. The network guys should be here, and they're not. So we found out that the server that was supposed to take over has an optical fiber backbone. So the two of them have something called a GBIC. It's a gigabit port that hooks to an optical fiber cable that goes into an optical fiber switch, and
Right.
that switch is the backbone for the entire company. Well, like for that site. And I open up the optical fiber, backbone, like, the case, which is like the server, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, look at that. There's no lights over here. And I was like, but there's lights on the other side. And I was like, there's lights on the other side, and there's no lights here. And I'm like, what's
Hmm.
going on?
Right.
And I didn't know. What happened was they had put power. They brought in this company to put expandable power nodes underneath the floor, And when they did that, they used these 22 caliber power loads because the floor is concrete.
Okay.
So to put the actual electrical box into the floor, instead of doing it, you know, I guess the hard way for them would have been to drill through the concrete and put a Tapcon anchor into the floor to hold the box in. They used a 22 caliber power load and they shot these things into the floor. So they shot
Okay.
him into the floor, but the box was over 9 strands of optical cabling. And when they shot it into the floor, it
Mhm.
cracked the cabling,
Oh.
and all that was just gone. But nobody knew.
Oh
And
man.
so
That's a nightmare right there too.
yeah, they blame you should have known and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't know any of this. I didn't know I didn't know anything that was going on. So and so I I had to order cabling within 24 hours and
Oh
get
man.
and get this cabling. I had to put the cabling in. I had to hook it all in. The next day, and I go, "Do you know how to do that, George?" I'm like, "Yeah, done it before. I can even terminate optical fiber cabling. Yeah, I could do that." Oh, oh,
Right.
oh. It's like, you're like, are you going to terminate it? No, I'm going to take the easy way out. I'm going to actually order cable with pre-terminated ends and just
Hmm.
plug in one side and plug in the other side, and you know so yeah, so that's what happened. So but and then uh I went because the business administrator, after she reamed me out for that, the next day I think she called me into her office and she said, this and that, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, I didn't know about any of this. Okay. I said, I just do backups. That's all I do. I make sure people have the same software on the same laptop, and I make sure that people
Right.
have new laptops. That's all I do. I don't do this. I'm a contractor. I'm not a full employee. If you want to make me a full employee,
Then hey,
fine.
then
You know,
then we can talk. Then make me a full employee. Then we can talk.
yeah.
But
And I
until
you
then,
know,
this is it.
yeah, not my problem. Yeah. But yeah, I needed, yeah, I think I needed like an Irish car bomb after that. I had to drink, I had to
Yeah.
drink, I had to drink heavily, like after that. That,
Yeah. That's
that,
complete. Yeah. That's understandable. Oh, that's understandable. Yeah. 'Cause- oh my gosh. Yeah. Because it's been plenty of times when I've been doing websites and I've been building websites for somebody, and one that used to always frustrate me was I used to do one for a comic book company, and every time he would always change up just while mid, sometimes while mid programming, he just change everything up, and I'm like, ah, so yeah, it was a headache and a half just from having to nonstop one, because having to do it because he only had to do it one particular way and had to be that way. If it wasn't that way, it wasn't right. Even though I know what I'm doing, still. But that's besides the point. And every time, if it wasn't done exactly the way that he wanted, just same way with you, it'd be the phone calls and the emails are like, "What is this? No, this is not what I said. I wanted this. You don't." All right.
what is your vision?
See, because this is not going to look and run like you think it's going to. I'm just letting you know that right now. But
Yeah, that usually happens.
sometimes the clients with the unreal unreal expectations about unreal expectations. Yeah, they expect you to just you now in less than 5 minutes supposed to completely fix the whole network, get every server up and running right. Not only that, you know, take out all the viruses on their system, speed up their, you know, speed up their connection and tighten up security. And all they had to do
Yeah.
is just say, you know, I wanted, I wanted to do that, and that's all you got to do. And apparently, you're supposed to just take care of everything from there.
Yeah,
Like,
we always had like at the other job I was at, we had people. Well, we had like a lot of VIPs who would travel, and they wanted the smallest, thinnest laptop. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get the smallest, thinnest laptop. It's gonna be the fastest thing on the planet. It's Core i7, 16 gigs of RAM. It's gonna be great. And they wanted to put Apple iTunes on it. Like, no, you can't have Apple iTunes. And I'm like, well, why not? It's like, well, most of our applications are intranet, not internet. It's a it is a corporate internet. It's still it still goes through the encryption server. But I want to listen to music while I'm doing. I like, well then plug your headphones into like into your chair and listen to music through the plane's Wi-Fi. No, I'm not going to do that.
Get a Walkman. I mean,
Get your phone and listen to it through, like your. No, I'm not going to do that. I want to listen to it through my computer, and I'm like, but
that like it was 1995 to get a Walkman.
Can't do that because it it presents a security breach.
Right.
And
it's like,
God forbid you tell a VIP that they can't do that. Oh wow.
No. You can never tell them no, because then it's like, well, I don't understand. It's just music. Well, what do you mean?
I mean, yeah. I used to get called into my boss's office and they're like, did you tell this guy that he couldn't have this thing on his laptop? It's like, yes. Well, why not? It's like, well, the rules are there for everybody. Why should he be able to break the rules whenever he wants to and cause a security breach? So,
right.
So he did. He got the Apple iTunes the way he wanted to. It was like, so he's authenticating. So he's getting all this music. He got all the music that he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a conflict between him. He thought that he was going to be able to still use
use his
use
like
his encryption. Yeah, he thought he was
the internet.
Because he was traveling abroad.
Right.
And
use those apps like normal and still be able to listen to his music.
Right.
Which you quickly realize you can only do
couldn't do
or.
it. Couldn't do it. So I get like my boss gets this call and he goes, it's that guy again. I was like, what's going on? He said he can't listen to his music while he's on the. I was like, till he's on the connection. I was like, I told him that. He goes, apparently he said that you never said that. I was like, no,
of course.
I said that. I put it into an email. I printed out the email and I saved the email. Here's the email. Here's a copy of the email. Always cover your ass with paper. Excuse my language.
Always.
So I was like,
Always
I'm showing
CYA.
him the email, and he goes, yeah, yeah, you said that. Oh, he goes, well, how am I going to listen to music? Buy yourself something. I mean,
I mean,
you
yeah.
make like, $500,000 a year. Couldn't you
Get a.
like buy
I
yourself a
mean, get a.
Walkman?
Get a iPod. I mean,
You
I
could
mean,
rent a band and they could
I
like
mean,
play music for you in the background. I don't
yeah. I
know.
mean, the only thing I can think of is, I mean, get an iPod. That's if you want to listen to your music, but you don't want get an iPod.
So what had happened was, he was using the encryption server. He was trying to use the Apple. He was trying to use the iTunes, and it totally screwed up, the laptop.
Of course.
So, and I said, okay, well, did you put your stuff into, the cloud? Well, and he's like, no. He's like, we have a cloud vault that you can put your stuff into. And that's what I had to do. I basically had to get people to put their stuff into the cloud. They didn't understand the cloud or anything. I said, it's just a server sitting somewhere, you know,
Yeah.
I'm in the world. And I think everybody got like 1 terabyte of storage. So, and it was a former company, but then this other new company bought them out, and when they merged all the data, all the people who were in the older company had the data, and I said, if you do not take that old data and put it into the cloud, it's going to become read only. Okay, it's not going to be something where you can go in and you can manipulate it and you can move it around, you can move it into different files. It's
Right.
going to be just read only. And then at a certain point, it's going to be obsolete. But I need that. Those are all my contacts. And yeah, take the stuff, start transferring it.
Yeah.
Well, how do I do that? And I was like, well, you find your contact list and you drag your contact list into your contacts that you created in the cloud. I mean, I have to create everything all over again? Well, yeah, but that's so time consuming. Isn't there a program that's going to do that for me? No.
So if
So,
there if there
yeah, it
was
was.
if there was that person would be a millionaire. Probably a
Well,
multi-millionaire verging on being a billionaire at that point.
um, a lot of the people, were going to retire at the time, that I was like, well, okay, you're going to retire in 3 months. Who the hell cares? You don't care. It's like,
Right?
oh, I want that contact. It's like, okay, well, you
All right. But
just print out your contacts. What's the big
I
deal?
mean,
Print
it's
them out.
like
Put them on a piece of paper. Oh, yeah, yeah. Everything was a big hassle. So,
oh, of course, because well, what do you mean? This technology is supposed to be faster. How come it's not faster?
oh yeah, yeah.
Well,
Always had always had those people. Like, my computer is so slow and the network is so slow. Why is the network so slow? It's like, well, let's see. The company has maybe 500,000 employees
right.
on this site alone, we have what? We have, like 4,500 people on this site alone, and we're hiring more people every single day. That's a lot of users,
So
on
it's
the,
gonna.
but it's so slow. I don't get it. I want to get a faster computer. So the guy orders a faster computer, gets a Core i7, 16 gigs of RAM,
All the bells and
500. I
whistles.
think at the time it was a 500 gig hard drive. That was like the largest you can get from Dell,
Okay.
because because we had the Dells. And I got the
Because
thinnest and the lightest and the
Is it
fastest
regular
computer.
or it's like a solid state?
Um, no,
Well,
it was a
probably
regular.
probably during that time,
The
probably
solid states were still, extremely expensive. I mean,
probably during probably then they were at like a 64 and 128 gig size then.
I had a no,
Or
2000.
they were at 256 then.
Um, I'm gonna say 2014, no, 2015. I bought Samsung Evo. I bought the Evo 500 gig solid state drive for $250.
Okay, okay,
So it wasn't too bad.
okay. That's not yeah.
But they wouldn't go with Samsung. That you had to go with Dell. So the Dell, I think it was
Hmm.
Seagate. Seagate made a uh it's not the Iron Wolf. The Iron Wolf is for the NAS systems. Usually the hard drive is 7200 RPM. This was a 10,000 RPM drive. It was really
Okay,
fast, and its seek time was extremely, fast, like a couple of milliseconds.
okay.
But it was still a spinning platter. But these people would, I mean,
Just obsessed with just it's just going slow. I need a faster computer
yeah, I
instead
need a
of
faster computer. I need the fastest computer on the planet. I blah 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 blah. So
instead of
they
just
get the really
realizing is
fast
that
computer, right?
yeah,
And the network is still slow.
instead of
And they're
realizing is that
like,
you gotta
but it's
increase
so slow.
you gotta increase
I
your
have the
bandwidth on
fastest
your network.
computer. And I was like, I have the fastest computer. Why is it? I was like, it's due to
It's
the
the
network.
network.
I mean, you know,
You gotta up the bandwidth on your network, man.
well,
You gotta
the ports were because I used to, some of the things I used to test. We never really had gigabit ports. I think we had 100. I think we had 100 megabit ports.
okay.
We were only getting it. I think we were only getting into gigabit when yeah,
Probably
yeah,
when it
yeah.
started coming
It
down in
was
price because I've never seen a company that would shell out money like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that would have been like a major overhaul. Because I remember the lines for the optical fiber backbone were either T1 or T3, and
Hmm.
that was in the one yeah, that was in the 1000 megabit range for just the backbone for the company, but
Okay.
everything else was like 100 megabits, you know. And they were like, "Why is it so slow?" I was like, "It's just the techno it's the, it's just the technology." "Well, why can't they make it faster?" I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like to with it, like rewire this building with gigabit? Are
It's
you
like, are you
crazy?
do do you know how much that would cost? It's like
We'd have to fire everybody and just hire like three people."
right, because that's the only you can only afford to pay three people after that. I mean, it could be done, but nobody got money like that.
Yeah. I think I think at the time they were using I think they were using Cat 5, which is category 5. I don't
Yeah,
even think it was 5E. I think at the time 2000, I'm gonna say 2016.
well,
That was
2016. Then it would probably be either interchangeable of Cat 5 or Cat 5e.
Cat 5E. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
might have
Cat
been.
6 didn't come into
Yeah,
being until I'm gonna say 2018, 2019, something like that.
yeah, yeah. About roughly then. Yeah, is
My friend was my friend used to be a network was it um I mean, he's a network guy. He used to work for Avaya, and we was he had Wonder Cable. I don't know if you know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's Ethernet. Um, it's coax cable, which is like Cablevision cable, and it was cat. I'm gonna say it was like phone cable,
Right.
but it was all it was all wrapped up into one cable, and and he had a spool of it. He had a spool of it down. He had this huge spool downstairs in the basement. We wired the entire house with like Wonder Cable. Went to every single room, and every single room had internet. Like had like a
Right.
network. And then he actually created a local network. And we used to go over to his house. We used to game all the time. So we would also, so like we would bring our computers over.
Mm-hmm.
And gaming night was every Friday night. We'd just go to his house and just game from like Friday night to Saturday morning. We would just game, play StarCraft. We were playing. There was a was it there was a Star Trek game that was kind of like Command and Conquer,
Okay.
but you could build bases and stuff like that. We had that one. There was Starship Commander. It was like all these games we used to play. I used to play Mech Warrior. I remember Mech Warrior was at Laser Park in Manhattan. I don't know if it's still there, but they had the pods there, and you could actually get into the pod. You would close the door of the pod, and the pod would be lit with all these screens, and you would be inside of a mech, which was like like a giant robot. And all of your keyboard commands were placed into each screen, so you could see what your weapons were doing on one screen. Um, uh, you could see like the state of your mech. If your mech had heat sinks,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and you were firing like a laser, a pulsar laser, stuff like that. And one of the tricks that we used to, do was I used to basically take my mech and walk, into a lake, and then just keep the legs of the mech in the lake, and then fire my lasers. And I would never overheat because the heat sinks were in the leg, and they would cool off from the
Right.
lake.
So you
And
could
I
you
was
could
like, yeah, yeah,
continuously
just
fire
yeah,
without
just
overheating.
like continuously firing, like going, George, I know where you are, I know where you are, and like going, I know, yeah, and like going, yeah, but you know,
Say,
yeah,
hey, hey, man, not my fault. I understand the physics of this.
we played. There was a Mech Warrior expansion pack that we actually bought it for the guys at Laser Park, and we were playing it one night, because nobody was there, and it was Super Bowl Sunday. We went, and we gave the guy the expansion pack. He goes, "Hey, this is Hunter's Moon." I was like, "Yeah, Hunter's Moon, man. This is the one to play." So we're playing Hunter's Moon. The physics of Hunter's Moon was if you with it if you used your retro rockets for your mech and you went up into the air,
Okay.
um, you would actually have to turn your retro rockets, and you would have to, or because there was no gravity on the moon's surface that you were playing on. It wasn't like being on Earth, fighting.
Mm-hmm.
You could actually hit your retro rockets. You would actually sail off, into
What?
space if you weren't careful, and then you'd have to try to get back. So yeah, we had a couple of guys like, oh, like,
That
hear
is
my friend
hilarious.
going, "What the hell is happening?" Oh, because the moon's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Oh my God, I'm dead. I have to respawn. I'm like, well, yeah, there there's no gravity on this planet.
Right?
You're actually in the middle of space. So, yeah.
That was hilarious. Oh, so we're here near the top of the hour, so let's reset the show. So, for anybody coming in, I am the Angry IT Nerd. I'm Gilbert, and this is my co-host, Techno George. We are the Help Desk, here to answer all your IT questions for you. And we're just here talking about a little bit of code, a little bit of tech, some robotics, and being stuck deep in space. So, uh,
And if you want to test your NT net with, if you had Windows NT back in the day and you wanted to test your network, you could have tested it with StarCraft, because StarCraft ran on Windows NT.
oh, Windows NT. Oh,
New technology.
oh, Windows NT. That was some of the nightmares I had with working with NT. I used to work at a doctor's office, and on the network there it used NT. And you ever have one of those days where it was a 99% on everything, no matter what you did, it was just 99%. Like you drive somewhere, you get almost there, like you're a mile away, and you have to walk the rest of the way. That's the experience I have with NT. It's a 99%, 99% every time. Oh my god, the NT. I hated working with NT. 2003 server. I hated working with that.
I had Windows 2000 server at Intel. No, not at Lucent. That
Oh,
when I worked at Lucent.
never messed with that too much. Never messed
2000
with that.
server was okay. It was. I had a client who had 2000 server on their machine when Windows 95 came out. And, I got 2000 server. Okay. What can you do with it? I really can't run this. I can't run anything. Well, because you have server software. He wanted to run all of the latest like 95 games. I'm like, you don't have Windows 95? He goes, no. My friend said that 2000 server would be fine.
Yeah, for server.
For
For server, yeah.
server.
For server,
Yeah, that's why it's called.
If you're going to run a gaming server,
Why it's called 2000 server.
it's perfect.
It's perfect for a server.
Run a gaming server, that's perfect.
Maybe Minesweeper, maybe Mahjong. I don't know. No.
Yeah.
No. I'm gonna run this game with these graphics. Sure you were.
Right.
And then
So,
the graphics didn't
how
want
that
to
goes.
go through. The video drivers didn't want to work. And I'm like, you're gonna have to get Windows 95. And he's like, oh man. I have to get another operating system and blah, blah, blah. I was like, no. You have to take this operating system off this computer, put Windows 95 on this computer.
right.
Well, what am I going to do with all my files? Well, there's something called a backup. You would back up everything and take it off, reformat everything. Well, his computer was so slow, I had to do a low-level format.
Oh man.
And I was trying to do it at his house. And I'm like, I need to take your machine back with me so I could just do a low-level format at my house.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm going to be without my... I was like, no. You will be without your computer, I understand. And he goes, do you have a computer I can use in the interim? I'm like, no. I can't be without my computer, blah, blah, blah. And, like a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, a lot of pounding his hand on the desk. And I was like, okay. I was like, you know what? When you're ready, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So
We got a comment here from looks like YouTube from what is it? Chuckle 70. And comment is, was Windows ME really the least hacked platform? Probably true because it was one of the shortest lifetimes. Windows Millennium Edition. Oh,
Oh, ME. Yeah.
Windows ME.
I used to call it major excrement because it was just
It was
horrible.
horrible.
It was
It
horrible.
was. What time is it? Well, you know what? This is gonna push it, but Windows ME was the shits.
You always have to check the time whenever we do, for with
Yeah,
like profanity on the show.
this one, yeah, Windows ME, it kind of called for that one because there's no other way to describe it. I think it had a short platform because because it was just bad. But yeah, major excrement. Yeah, that's an
My
accurate
experience
description.
with
Yeah.
ME was Compaq had these tablets at the time, um, and it had a detachable keyboard, but it actually had Windows ME on it, and I hated trying because it was a proprietary disk. It was 3 disks that you had to put into, you know,
Hmm.
the computer. And I was like going, why am I putting ME on this thing when I could put XP on? I could put XP on this. I could put anything but
Anything.
ME.
That
Yeah,
Windows
and
3, Windows
yeah,
3.1, Windows 95, anything.
I, f- I for it was I forget what the enhancements were for ME. It was
Uh,
95 ME, and then no,
I
yeah,
think
it was Windows 95. Um, oh my God, I can't even think. I can't even think that far back.
oh man,
Yeah,
but Windows
I
ME,
mean, like, needless to say, that ME did have
it
a
had a
short life.
very short lifespan.
Yeah, thank,
Just simply,
thank, thank
I
God.
had nothing but issues with ME. Every time I would go to install a program, I always felt like I was just kind of rolling the dice. You know, it always felt like a Vegas crapshoot. It's like, come on, mm, install, yes. Come on. Error message. Damn. Come on. Another error message. Ah. You know, so
I don't even
yeah.
think I have a copy of ME around here anymore. I still I know I still have um I have 3.5-inch discs for Windows 3.11. I know it, I know I still have that. I have this huge stack of 3.11. But ME was, it was very hackable.
Oh,
Um, yeah, when Compaq came out with that, the laptop was very cool. It was, I believe it was Centrino, the Centrino, processor, and um, it was like a really cool little computer. But I was like, and it would just come up with ME. I'm like, no, no, don't do that. No, please.
oh no. And I think it was this Chuckles. He says Chuckles 70 again. He says I was a base tier tech support for the rollout of GTE Internet, Dallas Fort Worth, Texas,
Oh.
trying to compete with AOL. I'm literally the guy who got calls from the people trying to use their CD tray as a coffee cup holder.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I had a lot of those.
had a few of those, yeah. But no,
Uh,
I'm sorry, but the funniest one I've ever had was a lady that called me up and had all kinds of problems with the computer not turning on, no power to it. To come to find out, she just didn't have it plugged up. Oh, she was so mad at me, and I don't know why. I was just asking
You know, Tesla was actually going to give us wireless electricity. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
it was part it was part of Nikola Tesla's plan to give us wireless electricity.
Yeah,
But
and then
yeah,
Ben
we
Franklin
never
said,
got it.
"Nah, son." Ben Franklin, he messed us all up. He messed it up for everybody. Because Tesla was about to make everything free for us.
Yep.
If it was up
Wow.
to Tesla, everything would be free. You know, power, you know, everything. If we were up to Tesla, man.
Trying to find
But
here.
again, Ben Franklin said, "Nah, can't have that. We got to make a profit off of this." Oh, but
Well,
oh,
calls from
but if
people use a CD tray as a coffee cup holder. Yep.
that's
I had somebody uh I used to work for Computer City in East Hanover back when I lived in New Jersey, and we used to get all these like crazy calls, and people bringing in computers and stuff. This one person brought in this computer one time. It was a Saturday, of course, because I had always had to work Saturday, and they brought in this computer, this small subcompact computer. They got it from Crutchfield. I don't know if you know what Crutchfield is. Crutchfield is a magazine
yeah,
where you can get um, um, automotive, stereo components, and you could put it in your car. And they made these little kits you can put in. They also made stuff, and you could get audio for your house and for your car and for your motorcycle, or for whatever you wanted to.
right.
Well, at the time they were selling computers, and they sold this subcompact, and this person brought it in like, I brought this computer to 5 different shops, and they can't figure out why it will not boot. And I was like, okay, I said, let's take a look at it. Open it up. What they did was, the first boot device was a 3.5-inch floppy disk.
Okay.
Now, the newer floppy disks had a spinning platter on the inside of the case. This one had it on the outside of the case. So the platter would spin,
Right.
and once it spun, the BIOS, the basic input output chip, would basically read each, or in unison. It would read it would read each of the drives and go through kind of like a self-diagnostic, and then say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
everything's fine. I'm going to load the operating system, and everything would work. But what they did was, when they packed this thing, everything was like packed real tight. Like, I was like, wow, they really didn't give you any, like a lot of cable and stuff like that. So what they did was, they put they had two 3.5-inch bays, and they put the floppy drive on top of the hard drive. But the hard drive was packed so tight,
Oh.
it pushed against the bottom of the floppy drive. And the floppy drive wouldn't spin, so to come up with these three beeps, go beep, beep, beep. I'm like, oh. I'm looking like, okay, I'm checking this out, I checked out the CMOS battery, battery's good, I'm checking out this, I'm like, okay, I'm like, well, let me put a disc in, and, I put a disc in, and it's not spinning. I'm like, what the hell? Pull off the hard drive. I was like, oh, there's a little platter underneath that spins. I just switched the hard drive with the floppy, I put the floppy on the bottom, and it worked. I brought the guy in to the thing, he goes, is that what it was? 5 shops couldn't figure that out. I was like, this, I said, oh, I'm going to come here with my computer all the time now. Wonderful. So,
Great.
Thanks.
You know, but me, I used to work at Staples, and I had this one. I'll never forget this. There was a few of them that were funny, but there was one that one guy brought in his system and said that got himself locked out. Um, and he was going to sell it. And he owned the business and got himself locked out of it. And was going to sell because he was upgrading systems and he had unlocked and completely formatted and cleaned up and everything. So I was like, all right, no problem. So brought it in and I started doing it. And then when I finally got in, backed up all his stuff, and then I called him, let him know that it was ready.
Mm-hmm.
But before, we always had a policy before we do any kind of resets or wiping drives or anything like that. We got to double check. So when I called, it wasn't answered, so I left a message. And it was the business number. So I didn't think anything of it because, he came in with the story that, hey, it was something he got locked out. He's selling a new one, need a wipe. So I just wanted to make sure that this is exactly what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
The following day, well, I'll take that back. I came in, I was off that following day, and then I came in the day after that, and then I find out that the computer that I hacked into didn't belong to him. It belonged to his wife, and who they were having a very nasty divorce. And he brought it into there because he wanted to get evidence of what she was doing. Luckily, because he didn't pick up and I didn't wipe the drive, then she had all the evidence of what he was trying to do. And if he had to pick that phone up and I wiped the drive, I would have had to go, sit on a trial. I don't know what would happen to me if I would have gone to jail or if I definitely would have got fired. I don't know if I would go to jail, if I would just been able to go home. Just simply because he came in and he told me that story. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? Just follow him back to where... Oh, man. And so, yeah, it was... That was a stressful one. That was a stressful repair for me. Yeah.
Where I worked in at Computer City, they had a I used to test I would test the modems of the computers, and I would use an outside line. So there was an outside line that I could use, and I would always call the business manager's office because he hated me. So I would use the computer to call the business manager's office from outside. So it was like an outside line that would go outside, and then it would come back in and call the business manager's office. And you'd hear the guy go, "Hello," and it would go, "Beep." He goes, "Who is this? Stop it!" And then I hang up. I go, "Okay, the modem works," and I would always just do it every single day, like every computer. Just keep sending it, keep sending it, keep sending it.
Oh, and, that's hilarious! I keep doing that too.
Yeah, it was fun, back in the day, because it was the old POTS lines, the plain old telephone system.
Oh man!
And we had this line that didn't go anywhere, and I was like, "What?" I was like, "What?" I'm like, "What is this line?" I traced it out one day. I was, I was working on Saturday, and I had a line toner because I keep all those tools in my car
Mm-hmm.
because I would do alarm systems on the weekend or alarm system installs and cameras and stuff. So I had line toner, and I put the tone on the line. I'm toning out all these things. Oh, I'm like, look at that. I patched in the line, and I was able to because the corporate office, well, it wasn't corporate. The location where I was had a patch panel, and I guess nobody knew about the patch panel. It was behind the wall where my upgrade station was, and I used to just like move this move this piece of drywall, and it was right there.
Right.
And I could tap into those lines and hear conversations, basically, what everybody was, talking, because I had a butt set at the time. I'm like, I just clip on the thing, just, oh yeah, I can hear that one, hear this one, hear that one. It wasn't IP. It was all
So,
PBX. It was
mm-hmm.
public branch exchange, but it was based on, you know,
Right.
telephone system. So I had an outside. We had four outside lines, and I could test four computers if I wanted to. And I created a junction, like I had like a punch down block, and I created a punch down block, and then I had this thing going out there, and I put it there, and I was like, all right, so this is just going to be mine, where I can,
Right.
do, like up to four computers. I could test them because we had modems at the time. I think we had, I think the fastest modem we had at the time was 100, was it 128? No, no, it was
What, like
no,
52K?
it was 56. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, 56.
um,
Okay.
yeah, it was 56K, and some of the cards that we had integrated fax into them, so you could send a fax. Well, guess where I used to send that fax? To the general manager's office, because he hated me. I don't know why he hated me. Anyway, so um, I think I know why he hated me. Anyway, but because one of the managers asked me to do something. Oh, there 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 were there was a camera that was down, and they asked me to fix the camera, and I was like, I can't fix the camera, but I can, but I can trace the line and see where it was. I had all the equipment to do that. And they're like, you do this on the weekend? I was like, well, I do it on a Sunday. If I, have something, because I work with another, I was working with like another gentleman, in his business. It was just part time. And then, so we do cameras, you do access control, all this other stuff. So like I knew all that stuff. So, but it was fun. It was just fun just to, send things out to the general manager's office, and, hello? You're like, hello? Will you, like, well, I'm gonna get the police on you. Go, hang up. All right. So yeah, it was always fun. But
Oh, the fun times. Those are the fun times.
those are the fun times.
Yeah. This is oh, Chuckles, man. I think he left his story. I'm going to assume Chuckles is a man. I'm sorry. To man, woman, he. I'm not sure.
52K dial-up modems needed their own phone line. Yeah, I would get transferred calls
from other texts.
and a
when
loss.
has and then you hear click click because you're on the same line.
Yeah,
So
there was a book that I used to. There's a book I read, and I read it from cover to cover. It was the Vorax Guide to Telecommunications. That was the book. that was the book
Mm-hmm.
to read at the time. I read that book from cover to cover, and I was like, wow, I know a lot now about. I knew a lot about phones anyway, but yeah, Dvorak's Guide to Telecommunications. That was. I mean, you can actually send
Mm-hmm.
line codes to. So if in in the actual before I guess before IP phones came in
Mm-hmm.
to play, you could actually send a line command, and it would be ATDT. Now you can do this, I believe, also um, if you were working if you're working on a phone server, you can do. I think there is a way. There's a command called ATDT, which is attention dial tone. You would basically and you do ATDT space, and then put the number in. Once you did that and you hit enter, it would send the number. So it would basically just send the number. That's how um, I used to screw with the general manager. But you could send other line commands, in the line. So you could do like, so. But yeah, the Vork's Guide to Telecommunications was the book at the time to do all that stuff. 52K. I I used to have. It was funny because when I first got into computers in, I'm gonna say 80. I'm gonna say 81. I had um, I had a 300 baud modem. Like if you ever watched the movie War Games,
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, with like Matthew Broderick,
Yeah,
where he
Matthew
has
Broderick.
the where yeah, where he takes the phone, he takes the dial, phone receiver, and he puts it onto the 300 baud modem. That was a
Yeah.
300 baud modem. I had that, the acoustic modem.
Yep.
I remember figuring out how that worked, and I fixed it. It was my my father was a police officer at the time, or actually he was chief of police, and they used to get these things in police raids, and they used to destroy some of them. But he's like, I found this computer for you. You want this computer? It was a Commodore PET 2001,
Yeah.
computer. That was my
Yeah.
first computer they ever worked on, and it had a cassette drive on it. So you would actually put you would encode stuff and put it onto cassette. Um, but yeah, that was the first computer I had. That was it was an 8086 slash 8088, processor. It had
Mine.
20 20. I'm gonna say no. I upgraded it to 1 meg of RAM. I upgraded
Mm-hmm.
to 1 meg of RAM, which means
Yeah.
you had to desolder all of the RAM chips off the board, and you had to solder all the other
Yep.
chips onto the board, making sure that each chip was in its starting position, its right starting position, and then solder them all, and then run a debug program to see if the solder
If it
points,
connected, yeah,
yeah,
and
if
it
it
was able to
connected.
yeah, yeah.
But then I used to go to a place called the Electronics Barn in Bloomfield, New Jersey, and I got they they had PGAs. They had pin grid arrays. So the pin grid array was basically it was something that the chip would actually go into,
Yeah.
and so I desoldered the entire thing. I put the PGA, sockets in, so I could just put the chips in. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever they made more chips, or if I could get more RAM, I could put more RAM onto it, and then just pull the chip out with the extractor tool and put another chip in there. I thought that would be easier. That that opened up another big can of worms. It,
My
you know,
first one was that. It was an Acer 486. Uh, that Acer 486, man. That was that was my introduction to the internet. That was my introduction to programming. That was that popped my cherry. And to this day, and here's the thing, and 486 processor, uh, and I want to say it had 2 megs of RAM.
Now you were rocking, man. You go 46.
And so, oh yeah, you couldn't tell me anything. So when and that was the first of when the fast forward a few years later, um, because at the time I got it, it was 94, 5. Anyway, so fast forward a few years later, it was around 99 ish. I built my first one, my very first custom build. And was this one. I had a 1.6 gig hard drive, and you couldn't tell me anything because I stored every game that I wanted. I had all kinds of stuff. It was a 1.6 gig hard drive, and then when I
Yeah.
upgraded to 2 gig hard drive, man,
You had all the storage in the world.
I had so much. I had stuff left over. I had so much storage left over. It was hilarious,
I can conquer NORAD now.
right? Conquer Nord and still have room to spare.
I had a
Oh,
guy I had a guy at Computer City do. He had Windows 95, and what he did was he used a compression program. So he had this compression program. He compressed the operating system, which Windows did not want you to do at the time. But he had
right.
this thing, so um, it made his 500 megabyte drive seem like a 1 gig drive.
Okay.
But
Okay.
the compression program was this third party program, didn't know who it was. Um, it never showed up as a drive in the operating system. Like, I was like, so, so you would basically run the operating system. And I said to myself, well, wait a minute. It has Windows, I guess, extensions
Right.
that run the GUI, and when the GUI came up, the graphical user interface, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would boot into a 95. Okay, I was like, so wait a minute. The BIOS sees it as a drive. That's fine. It sees it as a 500 megabyte drive. When you opened up Windows, you had to click on this desktop icon, and it would run the drive through the GUI. If you didn't do that and you tried to open up any other, I guess, any other application through Windows, you'd get this big error. Well, what happened was the he wanted he wanted an upgrade because we were doing upgrades at the time. We were doing 95, we had a special on RAM, we had a special on processors, and people were bringing in computers like crazy. Oh, I want to get to the Pentium. It was the Pentium. I think the Pentium 2 was the upgrade, and this guy already had a Pentium 2. I was like, so you have a Pentium 2? It's like, what? Like, why would you have a compression program compressing Windows at 500 megs to make it look like 1 gig? Well, he wanted an actual 1 gig drive, and I figured, oh, okay,
All right.
put the drive in. Once the technician, because there were three of us, one guy did the software. I was like, okay. I put the hardware in. I put the drive in. He wanted a new sound card, and I said, I said, get the Sound Blaster sound card. That's the best sound card you can get. He wanted Turtle Beach, and I was like, Turtle Beach is iffy. It's it's like a roll the dice kind of thing with Turtle Beach. I was like, their speakers are horrible. Their cards are horrible. Why would you do that to your computer? He wanted Turtle Beach. Okay. Put the Turtle Beach card in. Came with these really shitty speakers. Excuse my language. And then,
I mean, unless they were like
okay.
$5.
Yeah.
And even then, I'd still question it.
Now the card at the time was like,
I know it was probably around like sound cards. It was probably around maybe around $40 ish, maybe
the
around
Turtle
50.
Beach one was like 20, was like 19 something. The Sound Blaster was in the $60-$70 range, but
yeah.
I knew that it would work. I knew it would work on the PCI backplane. And no, he didn't want. So he had the Turtle Beach thing. Okay. So what had happened was this guy, they had this other tech come in over the weekend, and he looked at this guy's machine, and he accidentally deleted the icon that was on the desktop. And because the compression software was third party and nobody knew where it came from, long story short, it just screwed up everything. It's like, so they were trying applications, and when they were trying to use Windows 95 to get to the application, it's trying to look at the desktop icon, which was the pointer to the compression software to the drive. That path was gone. And I was like, oh boy. And he goes, what's going on? I was like, nothing wants to work. No, there's no sound, there's no video. And every time you clicked on an application, it would regurgitate and go, and like go back. So, and then, the guy's getting really mad, and he starts, screaming at the upgrade. He's screaming. I mean, at the top of his lungs, you people are incompetent. You blah, 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 blah. So the manager that day comes in, to the upgrade, place, and he's going, George, what's going on with this guy's system? I said, well, this is what happened. Da 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 da, all this other stuff. I said, if this guy has a copy of that software, we can recover it. They go, because why would you want to do a backup? And why would we want to do a backup of this? Well, we really couldn't do a backup of the system because the compression software didn't want to work with, the stuff that we had. And I was like, okay, so didn't want to work, didn't want to do the backup. Okay, fine. So I said to the guy, I said, do you have a copy of that compression software? No. My brother, I was like, oh, here we go. My brother put this whole thing together for me. Okay. Does your brother have a copy of that software? Without that software, we're not going to be able to recover anything. I was like, where's your backup? I don't have, and he's like very adamant, very like snotty. I don't have a backup. Okay. So you compress Windows 95, which you shouldn't have done.
Right.
He goes, but it was working when it came in. Yes, it was working when it came in. When we put the upgrades in, when we put Windows to the new drive, it unloaded everything onto the drive. Then the manager's like going, can you put it back the way it was? No, I can't put it back the way it was because the compression software compressed Windows 95, it actually compressed 1 gigabyte of space.
To 500,
Yeah,
and
to make it. Yeah,
to
to
fit
yeah,
here, so it can't necessarily just
and
translate over like that.
yeah, I said to him, I said, look, we took the genie out of the bottle. We can't take the genie and put it back. The genie's too big for the bottle. And he goes, oh, I get that. Okay, I
Right.
get it now. Okay, you understand that.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I understand that. What can we do? I said, I said, you know what? If you want to alleviate a lot of headache, go get him a brand new system, put all the stuff on the brand new system, and let him leave the store. Well, that guy left with a $2,500 computer with a compact. $2,500 computer. Compacts came with the screen and the keyboard and the
Hmm.
mouse. He got a brand new computer because he threatened to bring the police in. He was gonna call the police. He goes, I'm gonna get 9 on your side and da da da. And I was like, and I said to all the texts, I said, dude, we're all gonna be on TV tomorrow. This guy's gonna come in like, it's gonna be, like 9 on your side. It's gonna be WOR. They're gonna come in. They're gonna talk to us. And it was great. It was the
That's
funniest thing. I was
hilarious.
like, wow.
That is hilarious.
But yeah, it was. I mean, they lost so much money, so much money in that place because people would just go, "I'm gonna sue you. I'm gonna." Blah, 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 blah." Yep, a lot of.
That seems to be some people's magical word. I'm gonna sue, and then boom, things happen. Oh, and let's see here. Chuckles, Chuckle 7 says Xerox 820 820-2. That's their first home PC.
Oh, nice. Xerox 820-2. Wow, that's going back a ways.
I know, right? But I mean, having an Acer 486 that way back a ways too.
The Xerox. I think the Xerox Windows. Actually, the Windows that we use today is actually based on the Xerox copier. I believe that's what Bill Gates did. He took that concept. I think
Right.
also Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak um, took actually took that Windows operating system for the Mac that they have. So Mac
Mm-hmm.
and Windows owe, I guess, owe a big debt to Xerox. Xerox 820-2. I gotta look that up. I'm sorry, I gotta look that up.
Me too. I got. I thought it was just me.
Dash 2.
Oh yeah.
820
I've seen this
2.
on a picture of a setup on Wikipedia. I was like, yeah, I. Oh, this setup looks so familiar. Oh
I have
man,
to
just
wait. I gotta see this. Wait a minute.
the monitors, the computer itself, the printer. Yeah, it's a dot matrix printer. Oh yeah, this is some great
2.
nostalgia.
Oh yeah, here we are. Fun, fun, fun. Did that have? Wait, that have five? Is that 5 1/4 inch
Five,
floppy?
yeah,
Or
five and a
no?
quarter. Yeah,
The 5 1/4?
five
Yeah.
and a quarter floppies. Like the
Wow.
big. Yeah, they had the big floppies. and not the
Well,
the
the ones we
compact.
used to use was one I used in my first job was I used to use 10-inch floppy disks. I had them in a magazine. Was the IBM System 36 5360 unit. It had it had a 200 megabyte spindle on it for
Yeah.
250 personnel, police department. I remember that thing. That thing used to run so hot. I think I told you about that one. We had the air conditioner on in that, like, in that office because it was supposed to be in a computer room. We actually we went to IBM one time. I think they were in West Orange, and we went there one time and we were looking at it and I was like going, yeah, this is where it's supposed to be, in this big, nice, cold computer room, not in that little office that we have.
Yeah, this is where it's supposed to be.
Xerox 820-2. Wow, what a great
That's a
computer.
great machine right there.
Wow.
That's
That the was it, the dot yeah the dot matrix printer reminded me of the f- the first ever on site that I had to do to repair was an Oki Data 320, an Oki Data 320 dot matrix printer. I remember taking that thing apart and cursing Oki Data. I used to curse at them all the time.
oh
It had a board on it on the side, was like the logic board, but it had the the ribbon was not actually contacting with the paper, right.
okay.
So there was this shim kit, and the shim kit used to basically it had these little metal pieces used to put in to push the head forward to the
Right.
paper, so that
There's like little shims to kind of fill in that gap
right,
that was missing.
right,
Yeah.
fill in the gap because it had a the dot matrix print head was like a magnetic solenoid, so it was like a mag so it was a coil, and it had a ferrite core,
Mm-hmm.
and it would actually go like really, really fast to hit the ink onto the paper, from like the ribbon, and it would, go through there. And the head was square, so it had three, three, six, nine, 10. It had I think it had 12. It had 12 heads. I forget if it was 12 heads or not, but it had 24. 20, I'm saying wait. Sorry, it was 20. It was 24 pins in a
Okay.
square to create the letters, with it, or the numbers. And yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember that. Uh, I had we had one at Chase Bank when I worked in the summertime. They had it was a dot I think it was a dot matrix, but it had this stainless steel band, and the band had a head, and it used to spin real fast. It actually had the metal numbers and letters made into the band, so it would, right, and then the impact was a solenoid, so it would just go boom, 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 and it would just go real fast. I had to service that one time, and the band was so sharp, it was like sharper than a samurai blade. This
Oh.
thing, like, they said never to touch it or anything like that. Well, one time, because I was, I was working, I think I was working for Rico. I went, I went inside the computer room, and my tie got caught on something, but it hit it
Ooh.
hit the band, and it sliced my tie in half, and I had this. I had
Oh
this little show.
man.
I was like, whoa. And the guy's looking at me like going, dude, that could have been your hand. It's if you put your hands down and that thing went, I was like,
Like,
I know, I just got
uh,
my tie caught and it sliced it right off. I was like, wow.
man.
Yeah.
So yeah, fun times, and almost getting your hand cut off.
I had to take that band off and put the other band on because the other band actually, it, it detached. It detached off of the spindle. But, yeah.
Oh
Xerox
man.
8020. Wow.
Now that
Nice.
the Xerox 8020, that is a definite walk down memory lane. Oh, so is that we are coming near to the end. We got about 10 minutes left, and so coming up next, we have got Jeff Kennedy with the Kennedy Effect. So stick around.
TKE tonight comes
Yep.
on. Yep. Yeah, come next on GCPR.
Coming
I will
up
be the
next.
fact checker on that show. So,
So yeah, definitely, definitely stick around at GCPR Live. It's gcpr.live, so you can learn a little something from Jeff, and you'll know that it's right because George made sure that it's right.
because I consulted ChatGPT. Now,
But yeah, and after that we have got conversations with T Nathan, and
I'm at 11.
yep, at 11. And so consider the what's been happening in the past few days in the news, and yeah, it's T Nathan. He's got a lot to talk about, and so does Jeff. So you definitely want to stick around. You'll definitely learn something. But
Okay.
yeah, this is a good show, man.
Yeah, it's a good show. Thank
Good
you
show,
very much.
good show, man. And appreciate everybody showing up in the comments, and
Yes, I appreciate everybody, coming into the chat
uh,
and chatting with us and
especially Chuckles.
taking the stroll down
Yeah.
memory lane, computer
So,
memory lane.
thanks everybody for laughing with us, and Chuckles, and taking us down with memory lane with the Xerox, and
The Xerox
re-traumatizing
8020-2. All right.
re-traumatizing us with Windows ME.
Yeah. Not enough Jameson to wash that memory out. I'm sorry. So, anyway.
So yeah, and I'm going to, and my goal, my definite goal is to have that app finished by the weekend, so that way we can start, let everybody know that there is a GCPR app. Well, right
Just get
now,
Thomas off your ass. No, I mean, just, no. I mean, no.
see, the funny thing is, all right, because the conversation that Thomas and I had. All right, so we were talking about something, and for anybody that's wanting to know about the Thomas story, we were having a meeting, and the app came up, and so I was letting everyone know that I was working on it, but right now it's still stuck in development hell. And so Thomas so apparently, according to Thomas's eyes, I'm very lonely.
Oh, yes. I remember that meeting. Yes. I actually had that recorded. So I record all the meetings for,
Yeah.
for the minutes. So, if
Yeah.
you ever want to be embarrassed, I'm in the future again. You can.
Oh well, thanks. I appreciate that. And so for everybody in the chat that's wondering, that Thomas, let's say he was in a little bit of shock slash disbelief slash um, having a bit of an incredulous uh, reaction to me putting together an app. Um, Even though I'd already been talking about doing an app and putting it and already been talking about it for weeks now. And to which his ultimate response after what I just said of the initial shock was, "You need to get you a date." Like, what? Come on, man. So yeah, yeah. I didn't know. I didn't know it was like that, but all right. even though, even though pretty much I already been said weeks ahead of time, and I had definitely long enough time to read a book on how to do it. But yeah, funny, funny, funny. Good times. Good times. Great
Maybe we'll
times being
broadcast
great.
that meeting. No,
Great
no,
times being
no.
roasted by Thomas. Good times being roasted by Thomas.
That might be in our meeting for our Patreon subscribers. You never know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You
That
know,
would be.
we could release those meetings on Patreon. There you go.
It's a good
So,
insights. How what goes
I'd have to
behind
give you the meeting, and then you'd have to just edit out those, parts. But you could do like a beep 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 beep. Thing.
something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Got 5 minutes to Jeff Kennedy. TKE tonight comes up next at 8 o'clock on GCPR. So with that, we're going to sign off and.
Unless you got anything else, George.
No, I don't really have anything else.
Then everybody make sure keep your systems clean, keep your VPNs up, and definitely don't fall
Screens
for the
up,
scam.
phasers on stun.
Don't fall for the scams. And stay tuned for Jeff at gcpr.live, and we are all everywhere of the socials too. So everybody,